Last night, President Obama's last State of the Union address. Here to analyze, dissect, and discuss with me as host of the Benjamin Dixon Show, Benjamin Dixon. We are going to get directly into the first clip, a list of President Obama's 2016 goals. Only 1 year left of his presidency. Let's see what it is he hopes to accomplish.
But tonight, I want to go easy on the traditional list of proposals for the year ahead. Don't worry, I've got plenty. From helping students learn to write computer code to personalizing medical treatments for patients. And I will keep pushing for progress on the work that I believe still needs to be done. Fixing a broken immigration system. Protecting our kids from gun violence. Equal pay for equal work. Paid leave. Raising the minimum wage. All these things still matter to hardworking families.
Yeah, look at the list of stuff, Ben, that Paul Ryan apparently doesn't want to see happen, right? I mean, Paul Ryan has perfected this sort of condescending smirk and was able to keep it up throughout the entirety of the State of the Union address. I guess none of that stuff sounds good to him.
You know, it's impossible for him to give anything to convey any type of approval of what President Obama says. So he has mastered that look.
And it's amazing when I actually look at the list. These are pretty basic things, right? What has become controversial in the United States is stunning to me, where for political reasons, Paul Ryan, he can't even give a genuine smile. Only a condescending smirk is okay, because he would be killed by his own party if he says, hey, some of this stuff doesn't sound so bad.
Right. There's absolutely nothing, no room that he can give. There's nothing he can agree on. He's pinned in a hard space where he cannot even be reasonable. And that's the look on his face.
And interestingly enough, John Boehner had the same issue.
Right.
Part of the demise of John Boehner was he wasn't as crazy as some of the others in his party, and he wanted to be somewhat reasonable in some areas, and he was pushed out as a result. Let's take a look at the next clip from last night's speech.
In fact, it's in that spirit that we have made progress these past 7 years. That's how we recovered from the worst economic crisis in generations.
Some applause.
That's how we reformed our healthcare system and reinvented our energy sector. That's how we delivered more care and benefits to our troops coming home and our veterans. That's how we...
All right, let's stop that one there. Standing ovation, right?
Right.
Care for veterans. Who is against care for veterans? Paul Ryan still cannot show any emotion. Why has it become... I'm trying to figure out how much of this is about President Obama specifically, how much of this is about partisan bickering generally, and how much of this is just this sort of a framework that has been taken against whatever government does. I don't know how to decide what's what here.
You know, I think in his position, it's just opposition to President Obama no matter what, because even if he states something factual, as in the economy has recovered, if it's an affirmative statement associated with President Obama, he'll get lambasted by his own caucus.
Yeah, and as I was watching this, and we're going to continue seeing some clips of this, when George W. Bush does a State of the Union and says the same things, right? We're not talking now about drastically progressive or conservative ideas. Supporting troops. Oh, improving the economy,
right.
Creating jobs. Obviously, there's different levels of truth to those statements when different presidents say them, but these are not concepts that should be particularly foreign or adversarial to conservative ideology, but they seem to have become that because of President Obama.
Right. Again, and not to be redundant, but there's absolutely nothing that President Obama can do, not even kill Osama bin Laden, nothing he can do.
Which he mentioned to sort of, there was a dull roar of applause about killing Osama bin Laden.
Exactly. There's nothing he can do that conservatives today, particularly Paul Ryan in the caucus in the House of Representatives, would give him credit for. And so if Paul Ryan even blinks the wrong way, he's at threat in his new position as Speaker.
And he was literally able to not blink for long periods of time during this thing. Let's look at the next clip.
What is true, and the reason that a lot of Americans feel anxious, is that the economy has been changing in profound ways. Changes that started long before the Great Recession hit, changes that have not let up. Today, technology doesn't just replace jobs on the assembly line, but any job where work can be automated. Companies in a global economy can locate anywhere, and they face tougher competition. As a result, workers have less leverage for a raise. Companies have less loyalty to their communities. And more wealth and income is concentrated at the very top.
Okay, this is excellent, I think. I like this area because, number one, you don't often hear discussions, frank discussions, about how the sort of landscape of the economy is changing. We're talking about automation. We're talking about also the productivity from the average worker going not to their wage, but to the CEOs and the C-whatevers at the very top. Right. And he's also talking more generally about the wealth and inequality gap. So I thought this was actually a really strong part, although the crowd and something about just the tone of the speech, I think, had lulled people to sleep a little bit. I thought that was a really, really good point of the speech.
Yeah, it's rare to hear any politician delve over into that conversation in a substantive way. Bill Clinton used to be pretty good about that, about the changing landscape of our economy and how jobs that we counted on before are just non-existent anymore.
And I think it's also interesting because when you say something like that, you do open yourself up to criticism right. From people saying, he's just shirking responsibility for the fact that, for example, wages have only been up slightly during the Obama presidency. We on this program have been very clear about the good and the not so good about the economy, but we're also really clear about what areas does a president have control over and what areas does a president not really have control over. And President Obama, it is his last State of the Union speech. Maybe the risk was minimal, but there is risk to saying something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. He opens himself up to, well, actually, I was going to say more criticism, but the truth is the additional criticism would probably come from the left because the right has already given every ounce of opposition and criticism that they can imagine. But I think this conversation does open them up from a left critique in terms of especially the TPP and exposing us even more to these changing factors in the global economy.
And I want to get to that. Let's talk about this next clip first. Take a look.
Middle-class families are not going to feel more secure because we allowed a tax on collective bargaining to go unanswered. Food stamp recipients did not cause the financial crisis. Recklessness on Wall Street did. Immigrants aren't the principal reason wages haven't gone up. Those decisions are made in the boardrooms that all too often put quarterly earnings over long-term returns.
All right, so let's pause it there. Another really strong part of this speech, I thought, there were sort of some highs and lows here, pointing out that the scapegoats that have been created by many on the right, and we've talked about the Trump campaign and the Cruz campaign and so many other campaigns, President Obama going, without naming names, right, directly after some of the scapegoating that exists and pointing out this is not the problem that we have here. Really strong part of the speech, I believe.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I feel like it's going to fall on deaf ears because those of us who are rather rational understand that the scapegoating is just a political ploy. But those who really believe the scapegoating, they would not receive that message from President Obama anyway.
No, they're already signed up to vote for Trump, and it's going to be hard to really change their minds. All right, let's continue.
Reject any politics that targets people because of race or religion. Let me just say this. This is not a matter of political correctness. This is a matter of understanding just what it is that makes us strong. The world respects us not just for our arsenal. It respects us for our diversity.
Yeah.
And
So now I'm confused because all of a sudden everybody's clapping. The crowd is filled with people who do want to make decisions about banning people based on religion or race or whatever. And all of a sudden everybody's clapping like, here's something we can all agree on. Not everybody in that room agreed about that.
Right. It's that dog and pony show, right?
Yeah.
They have to put on the front. They cannot not clap to this, but they would definitely pass legislation accordingly.
Is that pandering? Because at the same time, who are they pandering to? We know that there is support for the idea, for example, of banning Muslim immigration. So I don't even know why they need to put up a show. And everybody, even Paul Ryan, clap. We would never ban anybody based or even discriminate based on race, religion, or creed.
Actually, David, that's a hell of a good question because I have no idea at this point. There's so many people who support a policy like Donald Trump's that who are they pretending for at this point?
I really don't get why they needed to put that show on. Okay, let's take a look now at one of the most bizarre moments from the entire thing. Let's take a look.
reject any politics.
No, I think this is the let's
excuse me.
Next one.
I played the wrong clip there. Forgive me.
Apology accepted. Thank
Okay.
you.
Reject any politics.
Oh, it's the same one.
It's the same one. Okay.
Now we have it.
Is this the one?
I hope.
But that means if we want a better politics, and I'm addressing the American people now, if we want a better politics, it's not enough just to change a congressman or change a senator or even change a president. We have to change the system to reflect our better selves. I think we've got to end the practice of drawing our congressional districts so that politicians can pick their voters and not the other way around.
This is a big, big moment, right? Talking about gerrymandering. Now, the problem I have with this is twofold. Number one, again, Paul Ryan doesn't clap for ending gerrymandering. Is Paul Ryan saying he likes gerrymandering? I mean, I know that both Republicans and Democrats do gerrymandering, but I thought they were at least supposed to pretend to be against it.
At this point, he is solely focused on not giving President Obama an inch. That was his entire purpose for being there last night.
The other confusion I had with this is that there is a reality that when given the opportunity, when those districts are redrawn, whichever party is able to redraw them in the most beneficial way is going to do it. Now, you could make a case and say, oh, Democrats have to do it because otherwise Republicans will do it and it will hurt Democrats. I don't know that I buy into that. I don't know everything about the history of gerrymandering, but I know that given the opportunity, both Democrats and Republicans love to redraw those districts. And the where I get to on this is the same thing as with campaign finance. Why would anyone who got into power based on the system that exists go out there and say, I'm going to change this? There are very few politicians that would do that.
Very few, and the longer they stay there, the less likely they're going to make those changes. So some of these structural problems have to come not only from a grassroots movement, but from across the nation and not our politicians.
Last thing I want to touch on, and I don't know if we have the clip, Lewis, it was Kim Davis. We do have it. Let's just take a look. Kim Davis was in the audience.
Democracy grinds to a halt without a willingness to compromise.
Yeah.
Or when even basic facts are contested. Or when we listen only to those who agree with it.
That is a disturbing image, Ben. I mean, that was the most disturbing moment. Kim Davis, this scofflaw, law-breaking, whatever from Kentucky, county clerk who just says, I don't care what the Supreme Court says, I am not giving same-sex couples marriage licenses. Why was she at the State of the Union address?
You know, I asked the same question and I dug into it, and it seems like she was invited.
Yeah.
But she was also placed in the middle of several same-sex couples.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I
just read
that
that this morning.
Congressman Jim Jordan, who of course is a Republican from Ohio, because what sane Democrat would have this woman use his or her ticket to go to this thing? He said Kim Davis used our ticket. Our staff heard from the Family Research Council. It's already a hilarious explanation. The Family Research Council communicated to this Republican that Ms. Davis and her family was hoping to attend the State of the Union. I mean, it is an embarrassment that this woman is there. She represents everything that is wrong right now with the civil rights struggle in this country, and she shows up there. And I mean, did she even enjoy it? What did she even get from it?
I don't think she could have gotten anything but airtime to say that she was there,
Right.
which would be questionable for people who support her because they would want to know why did you even want to be there with President Obama. So there's a lot of strange things happening last night.
It is absolutely bizarre. This is the last State of the Union address for President Obama. I would grade this thing a B. That's my sense. How would you grade it?
I definitely would give it a B minus, a strong C plus. Not because of content. I think he said everything he needed to say. It was just, maybe I was tired, but it felt like it was very tiring to watch, and I can't believe he's still optimistic after all these years.
Yeah, the letter of what he said, a lot of it I liked. The sort of general tone of the thing, and maybe it's because we know there's a year left, and how much are Republicans really going to allow to get him to get done, unless he uses executive action,
Right.
is questionable. Lewis, as we go to break, what grade would you assign to this entire thing?
Well, understanding that I hate these speeches to begin with, and
Yeah.
I think they're all kind of redundant, and I guess I'll go with a strong C plus as well.
A strong C plus, which I guess means almost a B minus. All right,
Yeah.
we will take a break. Plenty more coming up today.